Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to dive into 5 keywords that you're going to have to understand in Diablo 4 in order to take advantage of certain situations. And so let's go ahead and dive in. To kick it off for number 1 and 2, we're going to go with healthy and injured. These are both incredibly simple. Healthy just means that you have more than 80% of your maximum life. I underlined more than so that you know it's not 80% or more, but more than 80%. Injured is having less than 35% of your maximum life. You're going to see both of these pop up all the time. For example, there might be an ability that says when you become injured, you gain unstoppable for 4 seconds. So what that means is that when you go under 35% life, you would become unstoppable. The Druid's Pulverize says that while you're healthy, you continue to gain up stacks. When you get to 12 stacks, you're going to gain an Overpower attack. When you hit 80% life or less, you're no longer going to be building up those stacks to dealing an Overpower attack with your Pulverize. Speaking of Overpower, it's the third keyword that we have here, and it basically means that you deal extra damage to your target based on the amount of life plus Fortify that you have. Now there's certain attacks that will guarantee you an Overpower. Pulverize is a perfect example like we were just talking about. But all attacks actually have a 3% chance to just naturally overpower on their own. It's also worth noting that overpower damage is increased by how much willpower your character has. This is especially important for the Druid because it is also their main damage stat. This means that somebody using a pulverized build would definitely benefit from having high willpower because it's just naturally going to increase the Druid's damage and the overpower damage. For balance reasons, it's pretty reasonable to see why this is capped at 150% in PvP. If you've ever used a pulverize with 12 stacks on Druid, you probably know why. And the last thing worth noting about overpower is that you'll see it pop up in light blue when you get a normal overpower hit, or in orange if you get a critical overpower hit. Alrighty, so number 4 is going to be Fortify and Fortified. This is where things get a little bit trickier. So Fortify is gained through the use of specific skills. For example, a Barbarian might have a shout that says, gain 22 life as Fortify. Now Fortified life is not technically a keyword inside of the game. It'll always read on your skills as gain so much life as Fortify. Now, although it sounds like Fortified life is just more life that you're gaining on top of your max life, this is actually not how it works. And just because you have Fortified life does not actually mean that you are fortified. This is why it gets a little complicated. So you become fortified when you have more fortified life than actual life. A great example of that is right here, where it shows that we have 113 Fortify and 106 life. This means that we are fortified. You can also tell by this little border that's around our health globe that is not present in this image. So once you see this border around your health globe, this means you're fortified, which means that you're going to take 10% less damage from all incoming attacks for as long as you remain fortified. Now it is worth noting that although 10% damage reduction is the base amount that you get while you're fortified, there are certain items in the game that will increase it from 10% to go a little bit higher. Builds that generate a lot of Fortify are absolutely going to want to look into that. And the last thing worth noting is that Fortify does start to deplete when you've been out of combat for 5 seconds, and it's a pretty rapid process. Okay, so let's take a look at an example of Fortified. We have 100 life and 100 Fortified life. Now we get hit by an attack that would deal 60 damage, but in this case, every point of life that we lose now brings our life total to be lower than our fortified life total. So instead of losing 60 life because we just took 60 damage, it's instead going to reduce that by 10%. As a result, for all 60 of that damage, we are getting that 10% damage reduction, which means that we mitigate 6 points of damage. Therefore, we end up with 46 out of 100 health instead of 40 out of 100. But because we also lose 1 fortified life each time we lose 1 regular life, this will also land us at 46 out of 100 fortified life. Alrighty, so to explain this a little bit further, let's say that we had 80 out of 100 fortified life and 100 out of 100 regular life, and again, we get hit for 60. Now the first 20 points of damage that we take are not going to have that 10% damage reduction applied to them because we didn't have that much in fortified life. But now we're in the process of getting hit for 60, we've taken that 20, now we've got the 80 fortified and the 80 regular. So that remaining 40 points of damage that's incoming to our character still is going to be granted a 10% reduction. Since 10% of 40 is 4, that would mean that with 80 out of 100 fortified life, we would mitigate 4 damage points. And our last keyword today is going to be barrier. Absorb and prevent damage from all sources. This is actually really only important to know for one reason, and that is that there are going to be certain abilities and passives that rely on you not taking damage. When your barrier gets hit, your character is not technically taking damage. And so a good example for us to look at here would be Align the Elements. We gain 1% damage reduction against elites for each second we haven't taken damage from one. So even though we might get hit by an elite, so long as we have a barrier up and they don't break that barrier, we're still stacking up Align the Elements every second. Now, Align the Elements is just one example though. I'm sure there's going to be many other scenarios where not taking damage is going to cause certain effects to happen. And in those cases, having a barrier is very powerful. It's easy to know if you have a barrier by looking down at your health globe. A full barrier would look something like this. 20 to 25% barrier would look something like this, with this bottom line here kind of signifying how much health your barrier has. Well guys, I hope you've been enjoying your time in Diablo 4. I hope that you found this video helpful. Go ahead and drop a comment down below and let me know how your Diablo 4 adventure is going so far. As always, I genuinely appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.